you hit bottom in your life once and you're like, well, you can't, right? Like,
Can't get
any lower than bottom. But what you don't realize is there are different levels of bottom. I've been through like 4 episodes now. A couple more coming out over the next few weeks, obviously. And I think we need to give you guys a chance to get to know us a little bit. So I think today what we're going to discuss is a little bit more about ourselves, kind of where we came from, how we got into this, and a lot of stuff in between. So I think it's important that you guys be able to connect and relate to us. And we also want to be able to connect with you. A big part of you being able to do that is going to be getting to know us. And I think today's the day to do that. So that's what we're going to do.
Let's talk about, we talked about it a little bit, but we didn't really get into it. So I guess starting with why a podcast?
I really just love talking to people. Truly, I love human connection. I always have. It's always been very therapeutic to me, kind of learning about them, what makes them tick. I think people are very interesting. I've come very far in my life. I went from struggling day in and day out, paycheck to paycheck, being broke plenty of times in my life, hitting bottom more times than any one person should in their life. And I came out ahead of it all. So in that regard, I was happy, but I still never content with where I was in my life. It's weird. I could never find like complete happiness. And I've struggled with it a lot over the years. And
happiness? Or feeling this because that's like
something's missing in my life. Yeah. And I hate to be cliche and say I just always felt like I was kind of meant to do more than what I do.
No, I feel the exact same way. I think that's a very normal feeling.
I have that feeling a lot. I've had it a lot over the last 3 to 4 years. Yeah, so it's been weighing on me a lot heavier throughout my late 30s. Now I'm 40, and I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time. Like, I love this. It's the happiest I've been in the last few years. Just even being here, talking to everybody, getting to know this business, and really just getting to, air things out, get them off my chest, give out my opinions. We've touched on this before, and it's hard for guys to vent, get their feelings out there, open up. And oddly enough, I'm very good with it behind this mic. I've had a lot pent up for a long time, man. Just to kind of give you some history on me, I've been through a lot. I got into a lot of trouble when I was younger. And I came from good family, but I always had to learn things the hard way. Right? I always had to be in the middle of it, whatever it was, good or bad. And that was just my process throughout life. I could never take anything anyone said at face value. I had to experience things for myself. I was very free-spirited that way. And, I was also a troublemaker. So, I loved that kind of drama for some reason. I gravitated toward people that just were wild.
Yeah.
And I guess that's because I was too. So, yeah, I've hit bottom a couple times in my life. Eventually after enough times of getting in trouble, in and out of handcuffs. One day I just got jammed up real bad. I won't get into it too much, but I wound up in jail for, could have been 2 years. Luckily, the judge had mercy on me at the end and sentenced me to 18 months. So I served a year upstate in Madison County. I thought that was the lowest time in my life for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah, right. But no, sure enough, I was definitely capable of getting lower. And even though I came out of it a very changed person, right?
You did. I remember before and after. And I remember you coming to the high school when you got out. Mike and I were in high school. I remember you coming to the high school and hugging you.
Yeah, it was a long year. Let me tell you, it's not fun.
It's not all it's cracked up to be.
No, anybody that doesn't come out of jail with a changed mindset, I don't know how they don't. But it was a rough experience. Taught me a lot. You become self-aware very quick, and you learn very fast how to survive. And they're not the easiest ways to learn those particular life tools. So I don't recommend it to anybody. Even though I changed a lot because I just knew for certain I never wanted to be there again. So that helped change me a lot. I got out, I got a degree, I went to school, I turned my whole life around, and then Sure enough, I got into a car accident maybe 4 or 5 years later. So I was probably 26, 27 at the time.
You know, when the ambulance hit you?
Yeah, I got hit by an ambulance on 495 in Long Island.
Irony.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I got banged up pretty bad, my back, neck, everything. And I was introduced to painkillers. And, at first it was very, just taking misprescribed. And little by little, that just kind of steamrolled into a habit where I just couldn't not take them every day. Sure enough, I became an opiate addict. And I would very shortly after hit bottom for the second time in my life. And that bottom was actually a lot deeper down than the bottom before it. So
you one-upped yourself.
You think, right? Like you hit bottom in your life once and you're like, well, you can't, right? Like,
can't get any
lower than bottom. But what you don't realize is there are different levels of bottom.
You curb stomped that first bottom.
Yeah, for sure.
I
dug the hole a little bit deeper. So that was the second time in my life where I had to go through struggles. And that one, in hindsight, jail was a year and the addiction part of it was probably 7. So it was a slow burn and carried on for much longer. And luckily for me, I had availability to funds. I had a career. I owned a business. So I had money. And I never stole or did anything crazy like that. But, I put my family through a lot. And my parents, my brother, isolated myself from all of my friends. And really never told anybody about it.
Some people, common theme.
Well, there's a level of shame and paranoia that play into it. The worst part about it for me was I was very functional when I got high. So to be perfectly honest, people are going to think this is fucked up. But for me, I operated at a higher level when I was high. Aside from moments where I was like just real fucked up, then obviously, right? That was not the norm though. But on the day to day, yeah, I did. It focused me. I think I was so lost at the time, and I had so much going on in my life, and I was so confused that there was so much noise, right? Like in my head, and it calmed it, right? Like it blocked everything else out. It numbed everything else that was going wrong in my life. So and it enabled me to operate at a higher level because I was so focused.
The other stuff was drowned out.
All the other stuff was drowned out, right? Yeah. And that was, for me, amazing. It's probably, I found peace in a lot of areas that I would not otherwise have had it without the drugs. And I think that's kind of why that kind of all perpetuated it and made it worse and just kept me in it longer and longer. And then eventually it became a fear of not being able to operate on any level functionally without it.
You're saying because you become used to functioning on it, the idea of not having it, kind of all that noise is going to come back.
Well, the noise is going to come back. My work ethic, my ability to get things done, how I'm going to, function in life.
Can I do it without this?
Can I do it without it? Right. Yeah. And then, that's a huge concern, right? Because I had success at the time when I was using. Now, would that success have continued? I don't know. Luckily for me, I didn't find out. I actually got to a place where the lie fortunately made me, was killing me. So even though everything else was drowned out, it was the constant lying, the hiding, the paranoia, having to deal with work on top of that. And it was really wearing me down to the bone to a point where I really just couldn't even look my parents in the face anymore. And that for me was tough because I'm so close with my mother that it was getting very hard for me. And one day I was just like, I got to do it. I was ready, thankfully. And I came clean to my mother, which broke my heart and pretty sure hers multiple times. And I'll tell you, if it wasn't for her, man, who knows? But she reacted very well to it. She helped me get into a rehab facility. And that was it. I was slowly picked myself back up from that point. And I went into full recovery. I've been sober. I don't want to say, I say sober. I'm not sober. I drink, but I've been sober from opiates for 7 years. Actually, this October.
Yeah.
Actually, it was October 6th.
Yeah. So you just
It
hit
was
7 years.
7 years.
That's
Yep.
awesome, man.
So, listen, I guess in the end, I learned a lot about myself through it. For one, I'm capable of, and I'm not saying this to boast, but I'm capable of just about anything if I put my mind to it. So again, as much as I'd like to say I would change some of those experiences and redo them, it's very hard for me to regret them because they made me who I am today.
Right.
And they taught me a lot. They really did. They were hard lessons, but they were hard lessons that I feel my personality type needed. I feel like we all need to learn things in different ways. And I feel like there's no getting through to certain personality types with certain methods. I feel like we each have a design, a path to go down. And I feel like the things we go through and the experiences we have are the experiences that we as individuals need. And being who I was, as thick-headed as I was, and as lost as I was someone who needed to suffer. And I truly believe I needed to hit bottom the times in my life that I did so that I could become a better person. And I think without those experiences, I would have forever been somewhere either in the middle, or I would have just eventually luck would have ran out for me and I'd either be in jail or I would be dead.
It's hard because like as you get older, like one of the things I always question or I always wonder now is you having been through, those kinds of experiences in your life, who would you be today had you not gone through those things? And it's you can't answer, right? Like you can't say, the only thing I try to take solace in and the things I've been through my life, and I will be candid, I can't really, I don't have much I can relate to in regards to like that. I've never, very few, I don't say very few, not many people can.
That's a good thing though.
I guess, I mean, I'm glad I haven't had to experience
Right.
such, severe trauma, really is what it is. But for me, I'd wonder, like, those experiences, like, and I'm not saying you'd be the president. I'm not saying you'd be a bum. I don't know. But like, what kind of person would you be? Like, it's, fate versus destiny. Like, you had to go through those things to be who you are today.
Yeah, I believe I had to go through them.
I believe in that kind of stuff too.
I do. I believe that without those experiences, I would never have been able to achieve the level of success that I have in my life now. So don't get me wrong, my life's far from perfect, but I'm in a place now where I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy about the type of person I've become.
Yeah,
I didn't have to learn it, but I became a lot more empathetic. Like I have a great ability to empathize with people because I've been through so much. So, and that's helped me a lot in life with different personality types.
patience.
Right. I developed, I became very, very much laid back, much more so than I was as a kid.
Yeah.
Even in my 20s. And I handle people much differently now with a level of care and consideration that I never had for anybody.
Because of the experiences.
Because of the experiences I've been through. Yeah, because more than anything, I remember how secretive I was about things, right? And how much I kept things inside. And it taught me that you really never know what somebody's going through. So the way you react to people, if they're having a bad day, means a lot, and if you can't just be so quick to jump down somebody's throat because they're acting a type of way or they're doing something that you don't necessarily approve of. And you need to kind of try to spend more time getting to the bottom of it, especially if there's someone you care or love, care about or love.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what they're going through. Nobody knew what I was going through. And it's served me very well to learn those traits. And they're tools that I use in my life every day. And yes, I can say without doubt, I would never have honed those skill sets or those tools to the level that I have without those experiences that I went through in my life. There's just no way I would have.
Yeah.
It just would never have happened. I had to grow up very quick through those experiences. I had to become very self-aware, and you learn very quick what to and not to do, right? And I obviously could not be taught those things from anybody outside of myself.
You're
Because
saying you had to experience
I
them
had to
yourselves.
experience them. I had
Yeah.
to learn for myself, and not necessarily because I wanted to, but just because no one could ever get through to me.
Yeah.
They couldn't. So what's left, right? The only thing that's going to get through to somebody who's not willing to listen at that point
Go do it.
is
Yeah.
you got to experience it. You have to learn, unfortunately, the hard way. And in my case, I learned the hardest way, not once, but twice in my life. And yeah, it was tough, but I got through it. And I'm a better person for it now. And I'm still a little lost, from time to time, but I'm finding my way little by little. I feel like, you spend your whole life trying to find your way. I feel like things are never going to be perfect. I think you just learn
Yeah.
how to manage, you learn how to get through the day. You set goals for yourself and you just work to achieve them throughout life. And I feel like life is a learning experience every year, every day, every week. And you're never going to have it all figured out.
No. There was Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, whatever it was, like a reel I was watching. And there was a bunch of actors like sitting around a table talking about kind of like their life experiences. And Tom Hanks was one of the actors in the circle. And they said, kind of like life advice that you could share. And like, what would you want to share? Not just with your younger self, with anybody. And he said, this too shall pass.
Right.
Like those were kind of his words of advice. Like, hey, do you think you're on top of the world? Like this too shall pass. Do you feel like you know nothing and everything's spiraling out of control? Like this too shall pass. And I just thought of that because you're just talking about like, do I still know what I'm doing? No. And I think that's a very common feeling, even as you're getting older, even if you have stability in your career, stability in personal and professional relationships,
Right.
stability in family relationships and family dynamics. There's still going to be so many things that you're not going to be able to know what to do until you experience them.
No, you're not. That comes with life experience. That's why, 40-year-old versus a 70-year-old has 30 years less life experience, right? The
Yeah.
wisdom of the older generation is usually passed down to the younger. And there's a reason for that. They've been through more.
Yeah.
But you're never going to have it all figured out. And anybody that tells you that it's possible to figure it all out is lying to you. It's not possible. You can figure out enough about yourself, right, to get through life, be successful, have a family, and be happy, right? But there's a lot of things you're going to learn throughout the course of your life. So there's no way you can possibly have life all figured out at our age. I mean, even at 70 years old, you can't go through everything, right? Not everybody goes through everything. So, you figure out enough to get yourself through your life, through your relationships and with your family. And, as long as you have that figured out, then that's really all you need. It's all the rest, you'll either people come, go. I mean, things happen. They don't have, it's like I said, you just got to walk down your path, be focused and confident in what you're doing and keeping your quality of life where it needs to be and doing what you need to do to stay on that path, and the quicker you learn how to do that, the happier you're going to be.
If you could give advice to yourself before, with the opiates or before, your issues with the law,
Yeah.
what advice, if any, would you give your younger versions of yourselves? Because it's difficult, right? Like I agree, you are who you are today because of the experiences you've had in your life.
Right.
So it's like you want to say, well, like, don't get in that car, don't do that, don't take that. But who would you be if you didn't go through those?
Right. So it's hard. It's very hard for me to say that I would give advice because, like I said, I don't regret the things I've been through in my life. What I would tell my younger self is that, hey, I don't think I'd give advice. I would just say, hey, listen, your life's going to suck
It's going to get worse.
It's going to suck for about 28 years. You're going to go through a lot. You're going to have some serious lows, but I promise you in the end, you'll be all right. And that's it. I would say you're going to get through it. You're going to be fine, and you're going to come out a better person.
Yeah.
And that would be what I would say. It wouldn't necessarily be advice. I would just more consolement and not to worry. Just do you, be who you are, and you'll find your way out. And whether or not I would listen to that, as you
Probably not.
I'd probably think the world was about to end. But yeah. So
Yeah, it's when you talk about like talking with kids, um, even adults too. It's like most things in life you can't. I don't want to use the word appreciate, but you can't comprehend until you're going through it, right? So if you have, and not to be morbid, but I think about, let's just say you have a spouse, you've been married 30, 40, 50 plus years, and one of them is suffering with health and they're not going to make it, right? Like there's a
right,
finite time they have left. Like you can read about it, you can kind of prep what it's like to be grieving a spouse while they're still, living kind of thing,
right,
knowing that. But until you actually go through it, you can only prep so much for it.
right.
You're capped at your capacity to understand things in life until you actually have to experience them.
Yeah, I think that things like that are impossible to prepare for. I mean,
Yeah.
you can, I guess, get yourself into a state of mind where you start to accept it before it happens, but I don't think you can ever really prepare for it. Yeah, like I'm very close with my mother. I mean, I love both my parents. I always say my mother because I have a very close relationship with her.
Hmm.
And I'd be devastated if anything ever happened to either of them. But yeah, there's a part of me that if anything ever happened to my mother, I could never be prepared for it. I would
Yeah.
be
Same. We are mama's boys.
I'd be lost, man. I'm telling you, the day she's not here anymore, I will lose a part of myself.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how you prepare for that. I don't think I'll ever come to terms with it. Obviously, after I might learn to live with it. That will be an extremely tough loss for me.
The guidance and love and support that I've had from my mom, it's it's probably kept me alive. Like I'm just, not to say I ever had dark thoughts or a suicidal, and I don't know where I would be, but knowing that I had that person who offered unconditional love to the point where, overbearing,
Well,
you
yeah,
know, it's a mom's job, I think, kind of thing. And I'm so beyond grateful for everything she has given me. Like
right.
I really don't know where I would be kind of without her love and guidance, her patience. Like, there are times where I'm sure she's wanted to, I think you said in one of the episodes, pretty sure you woke up a couple times, your mom was standing over you with a pillow.
Yeah, I mean, she had it rough. I tell you, I do. I apologize to her to this day. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, for sure, I agree. It's my mother was my rock growing up. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love her a great deal, and the biggest thing for me with my mother was I think most parents could probably do things to try to prevent certain things from happening. Parents parent differently depending on the kids that they're given, right? And I think we all wind up with the parents that we're supposed to have based on who we are as people. And the one thing I could say about my mother is that she let me learn the hard way. So she never jumped in enough to try to go out of her way to genuinely stop something. I think she knew that I
Yeah.
needed to figure it out. But what I will tell you, and I love her for it, is that she she would let me hit bottom because I think she genuinely knew I needed it, and but she was always at the bottom to break my fall, always there to break my fall. So she'd let me get there, and then she would, when I was ready to start climbing my way back up, she was always there to help me the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I owe her a lot in my life, and I'll always owe her a lot. So there's nothing I wouldn't do for that woman. And the thought of not having her in my life is just a devastating thought beyond, it's like epic proportion. And I hope she lives forever. I mean, truly, it's a crazy thought for me.
As you get older now, what have you noticed kind of like a shift in your priorities or things that you prioritize in your day-to-day life that you didn't necessarily make a point or give a shit about as you were younger that are more impactful for you now, or things that maybe you did prioritize when you were younger
Right.
now that you're a bit older that you prioritize now more? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I prioritize my relationships more
Yeah.
with friends and family. Because I'll tell you, listen, if you were anywhere within, anywhere in my life, if you were within 500 feet of me in certain times in my life. I mean, you and everybody else around me were affected by who I was. And to the credit of my family and my friends, they're all still there. I don't know how the fuck they did it. I mean, it shows you, people always say, like, when the chips are down, you're going to find out who your friends are. I can honestly say that my friends have always been there. They have. God bless them. They never turned their back on me. When I separated myself from them for years to get my shit together, and I came back to reconnect, not one of them shut me down.
Yeah.
So, and that showed me a lot. And that was a learning experience for me because they were loyal to the end. And we're great. I have great relationships with them now. My family, I look out for them as much as I possibly can. I try to give back as much as I can.
Do you feel a sense of debt to them?
Yeah, I do feel indebted to them because they've done so much and they've been through so much with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because listen, it's not just whether or not it affected their lives, directly, but it causes a lot of pain for people.
Sure.
When someone you love and care about's in that state. So the mental anguish and the pain and frustration that I caused so many people at that time in my life, it took a real toll on them. And they never gave up on me. I mean, and they had every reason to, plenty of times. And I think because they showed such unconditional love for me through the face of everything, they taught me, how to unconditionally love. And I love every one of them unconditionally. My friends, my family, and I would do anything for them. Anything for them. They stood by me through the worst of the worst, through the best, and it's 20 years later and they're all still there. So
what's your favorite thing now about getting older?
Nothing. No,
you don't like anything?
No, I mean, my favorite thing, I don't think I have a necessarily favorite thing about getting older. I think that for me now at this point in my life, over the last 8 years, it's been nice to find a stability that I never really thought that I have, a level of success that, was not even dreamable for me at points in my life.
Yeah.
Whether or not I would even live to the point that I'm at now. So that has been my favorite part, is kind of seeing everything fall into place and seeing that I was able to get through everything. And then in the end, it's all kind of working out.
Yeah.
So that I'm enjoying, that I enjoy. Now I wish I could just pause at 40 for the rest of my life.
Just ride this
wave out.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've been through enough in my life where I know that, things are great until they're not.
Yeah. That's what it is, man.
So, even now, I have my ex-fiance, we were together for 5.5 years. And she's another one that I'm grateful for. She's heartbroken. I'm heartbroken over it. Our paths diverged. And, but that woman changed my life. I mean, and this was when I was already better. And she changed my life in so many ways. She made me a better person. She grounded me. She taught me about a part of myself that I never even knew I had the capacity to have. I mean, truthfully, she did. I credit her with a lot. Her I will be indebted to forever because she did. She made me better brother, better son, better friend. She added a lot to my life and my quality of life. And she helped me develop over the last 6 years in a way that probably no one else could have. So, as much as I love her and I deeply regret that we're not going to wind up together, I've been genuinely trying to salvage my friendship with her because I don't think she understands how much she means to me. And, people get upset and angry and they're like, well, how is that possible? She's like, very much like, how is that possible if you're not with me? And I think that just because you're not going to wind up with someone doesn't mean you don't dearly love them. And I think that's very hard for her to cope with. And it's hard for me because I wish I could, heal her, as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Point being is even now I struggle with things. And so life's, like I said, it's great and it's perfect till it's not. And even though everything else has been fantastic, that is something that I'm dealing with now. And I hope we get through it together. I hope that we come out of the other side of it as close as we were before we started dating and got engaged. And that right now, at this point in my life, has been my primary focus.
Yeah.
Work and making sure that she's okay, and that me and her come out okay, because she is someone that I do not want to lose in my life on any level.
For me, I'm the same as you, where you're definitely much more social and outgoing than I am, but we still keep relatively small circles. And I think you're
Right.
more adapt to making more friends, but the people that you would consider close, you could probably count on one hand.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm definitely the same way. And so, like, as you get older, for me, what I want to do is definitely prioritize like those people and those relationships. Like, those are things I value. Same thing for my ex. Like, I even though it's been 4, 5, 6 months now, as a person, I am so in love with who she is.
Right.
And the idea of that person not being in my life it's terrifying, because
It's hard.
like that person, like you said, like they ground me, like they bring me a sense of peace. And it's trying to navigate that, and it's tricky for me because I've never necessarily remained friends with exes. But as I'm getting older, for the right people, I want to prioritize that. I'm hoping to God we can make this work and make it last forever, as you know being in each other's lives, because that stuff doesn't come along very often. Those
No.
people don't come along very often,
It doesn't.
and I don't want to lose that.
No, it's of course not. I mean, and they don't come around often. They really don't. I mean, everybody thinks that they have best friends, right? Like that everyone is their best friend, right? But let me tell you, there's very few times in life where relationships and friendships are like battleground tested.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but more times than not, you find out very quickly when the chips are down and it's between you and that person you call your best friend, more times than not, that person is going to pick themselves. And they show you really quick who they are. And when you find somebody who doesn't do that and still says in the face of everything that they're going to stand by you, it's extremely rare. And I don't think people understand how rare it is, because self-preservation is a crazy thing. And when
It is.
it really is. And when people are put into a corner where they need to choose between a friendship and themselves, 99% of the time they will pick themselves. So that 1% of people who choose to stick by you and be there for you and gut it out with you, you cannot put a price on a relationship like that. And that is something you need to genuinely give your all to. That person, that relationship, you should never take it for granted, because I promise you, you'll get one of two of them in your life. And if you alienate them, chances are you'll never have something like that again.
Yep.
So it is. It's scary to think about losing people like that. The silver lining is they've been with us through everything, right? At that point, or at this point in our lives, you hope that we don't do anything that would ever push them away, because for the last 20, 30 years, we've done everything we could to push them away.
Yeah.
And they're still there. I think at this point in our lives, when you have that kind of connection with someone, they're not going anywhere. They know who you are. They love you. They're invested in you. The bond is at this point unbreakable. As long as you do the right thing. Don't make people like that feel taken for granted, because they'll only deal with so much. Eventually, for, like I said, self-preservation, eventually you force people to draw a line, and you got to do the best you can to not force them to do something like that.
Right. It's you don't ever want to put anybody into, paint anybody into a corner. You especially don't want to do it with your best friends. But I feel like, it's life.
It is.
There are going to be times where you fuck up, or they fuck up, or you both fuck up, and you got to navigate your way through it. But agreed, there's, a handful of people. When I say handful, like 2 or 3,
Right.
that, you'd go to war for, and they'd go, to war for you. Like, that notion, look, if I called you at 3 a.m. and I said, look, I fucked up, I need you. Yeah, it's 2 or 3 people I'd call.
I'd call you a lift.
Call me an Uber.
I'd call you an Uber.
Send the Uber with a few $100 for bail.
I say, listen, just come pick up the money. He's at the Miami police precinct. They pulled him out of 11 on the late night.
He wouldn't get off stage.
You wouldn't get off stage. I said he threw one of the thongs on, and they threw him out.
Yeah. Dangerous assets.
Dangerous ass.
Too much cake, Chris.
Yeah, right. But so yeah, you know,
Look, value your relationships.
You
I mean,
have to.
yeah, and for those, and it's crazy because I've had friends who haven't had, necessarily strong relationships with their parents and, their mother as well. We keep going kind of back to that, and we both have amazingly close relationships with our mothers. And I think about like Mussolini, Stalin, and Hitler.
Right.
All had horrific and complex relationships with their mothers.
Right.
It'll fuck you up pretty
It
quick.
does.
Yeah. So having even people I've known or from when I was younger, like they didn't have necessarily a great relationship with their mother. And I'm not saying they're fucking Hitler, but it's something that I know that they wish that they had, and they have to kind of figure out that stuff on their own. I will say though, from the people who I've known who haven't had necessarily that close of a relationship with their parents, it can go one of two ways, right? It can go like, well, if somebody has a bad relationship with their dad, for example, or their dad, or, dad, let's just say this, I'm not generalizing, but if their dad was an alcoholic, well, it's genetic, right? So
Right.
if your parents are an alcoholic, chances of you being one are greater. The people that I've known generally go the opposite. Like they know what they didn't have growing up.
Right.
And now that they have kids, they kind of say to themselves, I will never be that person.
Right.
And I think that's, fucked up, but beautiful.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
they
listen.
didn't have, and like their place of caring is coming from the love that they didn't have growing up.
Yeah, because they wish they had.
Right.
And they want to change.
They're a little fucked up from it.
Well, yeah. I mean, they do. They want to change the dynamic, and be different. And that's great. It's great if you come out of it that way.
Yeah.
Because it can go the opposite way.
It can make a hard left. Yeah.
And not having good relationships with your parents is definitely a factor. But as a man, I think a relationship with your mother is important. I think it teaches you to value women,
Yeah.
especially when you're close with your mother. And like I said, I love my mother to death, and I have a great affection for women in general. I've always been at my best in my relationships, and I think a lot of guys tend to shit on women, especially today. And I've always said this: I feel like women are just and always have been man's greatest motivator. And when you have the right woman in your life, whether it be your mother or someone you're dating, I mean, women have the ability. If you're a guy and you're rough around the edges, they smooth you
They
out.
will smooth out. Yeah.
Right? If you're a very hard guy, they'll soften you up.
Yeah.
And they add that aspect to your life that you need. You want to do anything for them, provide for them, take care of them, because whether it's subconscious or not, you need those things, right? You need someone to bring those qualities into your life and teach you them. And I feel like women do that at the highest level. At least for me, they have. Now, maybe that is because I'm so close with my mother. My value of women is much different, at least than a lot of the guys I hear today. But I think they're just not given enough credit. I think that, in my opinion, they can do whatever they want. I judge no women for anything that they do at all. I'm a traditional guy, and I don't even judge
So
the
if you
women.
came home and your clothes were on a pile in the front yard on fire, you'd be like, oh, that's fine.
No, obviously something's fucked up. At that
Yeah.
point, something happened.
No, I judge.
I think-
don't
no.
fuck my shit up.
I don't judge. I feel like women get judged a lot for choices and decisions that they make today, and I just think it's ridiculous.
We've seen the
Because the-
podcast where they have there's too much bullshit out there, dude. There's way too much bullshit
There
out
is.
there where
They're
people
just-
are just shitting on women, and I'm not looking to be Mr. Feminist here. I'm not. But the amount of bullshit podcasts that I see where they go out of their way to shit on women for their morals or their values. Shut the fuck up.
It's gotten worse with the introduction of OnlyFans and all the influencers and the shit that they do. But listen, who gives a fuck? I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it's their bodies. They can do whatever they want. And honestly, guys have been doing fucked up shit since the beginning of time. And then the crazy thing about it is when I see these girls who do OnlyFans and shit get attacked, it's like, why? Porn has been around for it's always been
100
around.
plus years.
Right. There might not have been as many women who did it, right? But
'Cause
it's
they'd be
always been
stoned.
around, right? So it's like, what's the problem with women who do it now? All right, so maybe it's done at a higher rate. That's fine though. Who gives a shit? Like you don't have to date that person if you don't want to, if your values don't align with theirs. But people talk about them like it's, because they're just not traditional women. So what?
Yeah, but my
Not
values
every
don't,
woman is traditional.
right. My values don't align with a staunch conservative Christian woman.
Right.
So I wouldn't date them.
No, absolutely.
It's, you're talking two ends of the spectrum
Yeah.
there. But the point being, if your values don't align with somebody, you're not going to date them whether they're this side or this side. Who gives a fuck?
No, these guys that do that, I'm convinced they just got fucked up real bad by a girl at some point in their life. And they
Yeah.
just hate. And that's fine because your values are, like you just said, are not going to line up with everybody. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a girl that's on OnlyFans or hanging her ass out on Instagram. It could be for any number of reasons, but for some reason they just love to target and attack those women. Who gives a shit? Like, just leave them alone. Leave them be. Let them do what they have to do to provide for themselves, earn money. They don't care. No one's saying that they're looking for a traditional man. So what if they are? Listen, I'm a traditional guy. I don't judge them. I would date them. And then people would turn around and try to tell me, well, I'm not traditional. No, that doesn't mean I'm not traditional. It means I have no problem dating a woman that's not a traditional woman.
Right.
I don't have to give up my traditional values.
Yeah.
I can still treat a woman the same exact way, no matter what she does, because what she does and who she is are two totally different things.
Yes.
Now, does that necessarily always the case? No. Listen, there's scumbag women out there. There's scumbag men out there. I mean,
Yeah, but it's generalizing
equally.
and making assumptions that because A, B. That's not accurate. Because
No,
they
it's
do
not.
this, they're this.
Right.
No,
No.
that's not how it's.
That's called passing judgment.
Yeah. Well, it's just based off of baseless assumptions. Well,
Right.
they do this, they must be this person.
Right.
No.
What I think bothers some of these guys is women that aren't traditional, but expect to wind up with a traditional man.
So they have their values that might not align with a traditional man.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that bugs them because these guys, they always say, well, you're not a traditional woman.
How
So-
could I be with someone who doesn't
Right.
value
Why
this?
why would a traditional man be with you? Like you have nothing to offer him. But see, that I don't know when the tide turned, when it became an equal give and take between men and women, but it's never been that way. It's never been women have to give back to men as much as we give to them. Now that's fine if that's the kind of relationship you want.
Yeah.
But that's not a traditional relationship. So when these guys who say they're traditional say things like that, I'm like, but that's not a traditional view because most traditional men don't expect women to reciprocate of equal to them. They just don't. Why would they? That's not a traditional value.
Right.
Men are the breadwinners, always have been, or at least that's what they're expected to be.
You think about like the 1950s nuclear family picture, right? The man went to work, the woman stayed home, tended to the house, tended to the children, would walk the dog, picket fence, all that. It's 80 years later. Like, grow the fuck up. Things change, people change, values change.
Right.
Now, if you have values A, B, and C, and she has values X, Y, and Z, it's not to say you guys are going to get married, but it doesn't also mean that you're compromising your values because her values are different.
Right.
Her values aren't wrong. Your values aren't right. They're just different.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't know why people struggle with that.
They do. But they act like it's been the same dynamic forever. I mean, yeah, women are a little more promiscuous today, or a lot more, whatever you want to say. But who cares? I mean, like seriously, you don't have to date someone whose values don't align to yours, but you also don't have to judge or shit on them. You just don't. There's no reason for it.
That's insecurity, isn't it?
It
Your
is.
own
It's
shortcomings.
an insecurity.
100%.
For sure. And I don't care what these guys say. They can say, oh, no, people like Fresh and Fit podcast or the whatever podcast. And don't get me wrong. Listen, I'm not saying that these guys don't have points, but where they lose me is they generalize things a lot. And that bothers me. So when you make general statements about large groups of women that just are not based in reality, it bothers me. And they do it to attack, right? Like they're always on the attack. They never try to look at the other side of it. Now, again, there are women out there who can be scumbags. I get it. But typically those women are very transparent and you don't have to be with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And yeah, they may have far-fetched goals as far as who they're going to wind up with. But there's someone out there for everyone. And they may very well wind up with a traditional values guy. They may. Because not all guys are going to pass judgment on them. So is it wrong for them to hope that they wind up in a relationship like that? No. Is it as realistic to think that they're going to wind up in a relationship like that when they're not so traditional? Probably not, but let them try. Who cares? What does it bother you that they expect a man to be traditional? Okay, they don't offer the same traditional values back in return, but who really gives a shit?
Hey, but maybe a guy who has traditional values doesn't want the traditional woman.
That's exactly my point too.
Yeah, like
not every guy is going to want a traditional woman. That doesn't mean that they're not traditional.
Yeah,
people say it's like they're not, they're not synonymous with each other.
No, they can be different. They can be interchangeable.
Right.
And again, going back to just because you have A, B, and C doesn't mean you need A, B, and C. You could be looking for X, Y, and Z. Is it as common? No. But it's not to say it's not possible. Your wants could be different than your needs.
Right. Not everybody has to fit the mold.
Right.
I mean, they just don't. So, you date who you want to date. You have preferences, what you want out of a person, a woman, a relationship. And everybody has those. So you're entitled to yours. They're entitled to theirs. And
shut the fuck up
about it. Because the funny thing to me is, like when these guys ask these women, like, would you date someone that worked at Burger King? Would you date a guy that worked at Burger King? And they say no. That's like a fucking shock to them. I don't know why that's such a shock to them. And they generalize it toward those women. It's like, I got news for you, dude. Fucking 99% of women wouldn't. Yeah. And I'm not faulting them for that at all. And listen, I'm not saying there aren't women or even men that are just in things for true love and connection. But men are hardwired to be breadwinners, and women are hardwired to look for stability and support and protection from the men in their lives. So they have criteria, and they've always had criteria. That's always been the dynamic. That's not going to change because you simply don't agree with it. Like, yeah, we might date down because they make that point. And I don't even look at it as dating down. So yeah, we might date someone in a lesser profession. Who cares? There was a time when women didn't work at all.
But there's an irony to that to me, right? Because you're a traditional guy. Why are you upset that a majority of women wouldn't date a man who worked at Burger King? If you're a traditional guy, then your expectation is that you're likely going to provide for a woman, right?
Absolutely.
So then what do you give a shit if she wouldn't date somebody who worked at Burger King?
Right. They don't. That's the thing. I don't really think they genuinely give a shit. I think they just look for ways to target and attack them. And I think that's, for some reason, they seem to think that that's a valid point. But again, we've always been that way as men. Like I said, there were times where women never worked. They were at home with the kids and they were housewives. So if we thought that way, no one would have ever been married because that's how everything started. That's what it has always been. Men have always been dating. And I hate saying down. We're not dating down. We've just never expected the same in return. And all of a sudden, like these guys today are expecting all of the same things in return. Like, why? It's no different today than it was then.
No.
Most women aren't going to date someone that makes $15 an hour. It's not stable enough for them. So why are you shitting on this group of girls for it?
No.
Again, does that mean everybody wouldn't? No. There's some women that wouldn't care, but most women would care. And that's nothing new. That is not a generational thing. It is fucking always been that way.
No.
So, yeah, they've been fucked up by somebody at some point in their life, and they are just taking it out on any woman that will sit down in front of a camera with them. It's unfortunate. But we love you, ladies. So, do you, and I'll still date you. I won't go on OnlyFans with you, but you could do your thing.
Hey, make your money. You said it last time.
Make your money.
Fucking money. Secure the bag.
Listen, whatever makes you happy in life, and I think people lose sight of that. Whether you're a man or you're a woman, you need to do what makes you happy in life and not worry about what other people think of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go through life worrying about what everybody thinks of you, you're always going to try to conform to some type of societal mold, and you're never going to be happy. Johnny Depp said something once in an interview that it was so true. And he's like, all these people wish that they could be themselves, but they're so concerned with fitting in with everyone
Yeah.
around them that they could never be. And he goes, that's not for me. I'll see you on the other side. I agree with him
Yeah.
100%.
I think it's hard to live that way, but I think it's a beautiful thing to not give a shit truly what anyone thinks.
Yeah, I mean,
Like that's got to be a really nice feeling.
for sure. I mean, listen, there's certain instances where you have to in business, profession, fine. But, you know, you don't need to fit some societal mold all the time.
No, for your day to day too. And it's, you know, the other saying is try to please everybody, you'll disappoint everybody. You're never going to please everybody.
No, you're not.
So, you know, go through life. Don't be a jerk. Don't hurt people. You know, it's just be a good person and do what you want to do. If you're not hurting anybody, then live your life.
Right. Live your life and be happy.
Yeah. It's
Listen.
short, man. It is fucking short. And I don't know what happens when we're not here. Probably nothing. I hope I'm wrong, but that's, you know, if I believe in science and everything else that I believe in is generally backed by science, statistically speaking, when this is over, just like any other organism, it's done.
Right.
Like, you know, there's no heaven for single-celled organisms. There's no
Right.
heaven for mushrooms when they die. So
Right.
why would there be for us? I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. It's short, man.
I
Enjoy
hope I hope I see pearly gates.
it. Yeah. Yeah, look, I hope there's something, but
I just
that's-
want
that's another
I want
podcast.
wings. I want wings.
You just want to fly.
I want to fly.
If you get
I wanna-
any
I
superpower,
want to fly high.
you get a superpower, would it be flying?
Would it be flying?
Yeah.
I want to be flying. I think seriously,
Yeah.
the ability to read minds.
Over flying?
Yeah.
Bitch.
I would love to know what people are thinking.
Why?
I just would.
I don't
love it.
care enough about other people.
You know, I'm such a people watcher.
Yeah, that's what it is. See, this
Like,
is
I'm a
this is
huge
where
people
like
watcher.
your whole thing would be like, let's go to the club and see what they're thinking
Oh,
about, man.
I
I'd be
would
like, dude, I
love
want to
it.
go fly.
Dude, to see, I mean, think about it, because there are so many people in the world. I mean, probably everybody that have thoughts that will never see the light of day.
Yeah, but dude, you're
And
so
imagine
lame.
having a window into the thoughts that people will never say out loud.
Yeah, but I'm here shooting fucking laser beams out of my eyes, and you're over there going, "Oh, that girl just farted."
No, that's not a thought. That's an
Oh,
action.
what if she had a thought though? Oh God, I just farted. I hope no one smells it. I'm out here
Yeah, but see, you're
double
not-
fisting laser
you're-
beams into the
you're not-
sky, and you're
you're
like,
not-
"Oh, she farted."
See, you're thinking very superficially, though. I'm thinking about the thoughts that people will never speak of, the things that people think the darkest of the dark that will
You
never
don't think you'd
come
get
out.
bored of that?
No, I don't, because I think as human beings, we think crazy things that we never say.
I'm not getting tired of flying through the fucking air. You know what I mean?
That would get boring.
Oh, it would.
If I want
not.
to fly, I'll hop on a plane.
You're, was it the same thing to you?
Uh-huh.
Being in a chair in the sky?
I think I've already told you, like, back to why I got into this. Like, people are extremely interesting to me. I love human connection.
I was
For
not ready
someone-
for that lame of an answer.
Well, for somebody who you should have expected it, because for somebody who loves the human
so
connection
stupid.
as much as I do,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you were going to get from me. Because
You want to know what they think when you're taking
I
a
do.
poop?
Yeah, you ever know one of my favorite movies is What Women Want with Mel Gibson. Remember, he got struck by
Yeah.
lightning. He had the ability to
Oh, I remember it, yeah.
hear like, dude, let me tell you how amazing. I was stuck to my TV that whole movie.
I'm out here punching fucking holes in boulders, and you're just listening to a fucking chick go on about her period.
Listen, I'm not trying to be Superman.
Well, dude, that's what a superpower is.
All right, will it make it more interesting for you if I could read and control the thoughts of people?
Controlling is different.
I got Robbie.
Yeah, because that's now you're talking manipulation.
Right, Rob. Now,
Yeah,
we're
versus
Robbie's
just hearing
level.
a chick go, "Oh God, this dress make me look fat." Meanwhile, I'm out here fucking powerlifting boulders.
Right.
You're just like, "Oh, these polka dots don't look as flattering as I
How
thought."
many times are you going to get to lift a boulder?
Every day,
Every.
fucking throw one mountain over another mountain.
Right.
I'll make my own mountain
Right.
ranges.
I'll throw Mount Everest over K2.
Yeah, I'll start zooming through them with my flying ability.
But
Meanwhile, you're talking to you're listening to a chick go on. "Oh, my heels are too high."
oh, come on, man. That would be those again. Those
Control
are
is different,
Those are
though.
very shallow thoughts. I'm talking about the deep inner,
The
like
deep-seated,
subconscious
like-
thoughts.
God, yeah. And I hope no one ever finds that
The
body.
ones where someone's literally plotting a murder in their
Yeah.
head.
But see, now the thing is, wow, we went on a tangent, didn't we?
We did.
You'd have to, you'd have to sift through a lot of bullshit, though.
Right.
right? There'd be a lot of the, oh God, this dress is, you know, versus like somebody being like, oh God, bodies. There's so many of them under the floorboards. No one could know.
I wonder if anyone would notice if I slit his throat.
How bad is that
Like
smell?
that.
Am I getting numb to the smell of the decaying corpses in my house?
I got to go to the store and buy some lye tonight.
Now remember, space it out over several different stores. You don't buy everything at one location. You buy the tape here, you buy the rope here.
Right. Put the head here, the femur here.
Is it going to look weird if I buy 8 oil drums on Amazon?
I wonder if there's a sale for muriatic acid.
Best way to crush bone.
Now you get into it. You see?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you
Imagine
you'd
if you
hear
could.
some-
Imagine if you could read minds, and you were one of the people that actually sat down at a bar next to Jeffrey Dahmer or
No.
Ted Bundy.
No, I don't.
Imagine
the
being
thing
able to
is,
hear those
I
guys'
think
thoughts.
You'd hear some
fuck
dark,
me.
deep shit, but I also think you'd hear just a lot of sadness. I think people are really stressed today, and I think you just hear a lot of people struggling with their own internal demons.
Oh, dude, let me tell you, but you'd have one of the most successful podcasts out there if I could read minds.
Yeah.
The topics would be never ending.
So I see. This is why I love you, because you're thinking about having a superpower to benefit us. Meanwhile, I'm out here just zipping through the
Right.
fucking clouds, throwing lightning bolts at people.
Robbie wants to be Zeus, and I want to be a mind reader.
You're like, what can I do to benefit this podcast?
Yeah, seriously.
Meanwhile, I'm lifting up trains.
Yeah, if you can't use the information you have, I mean, what good is it?
Yeah.
It's fun, but but yeah, we digressed a little bit, but
Don't do drugs.
We'll do that. Don't do drugs. Stay out of jail, and do what makes you happy in life without any care for what people think about you. Because
Don't hurt anyone, but live your life.
yeah, you don't have to do things with malice in your heart, but just live your life. Be happy. Do you. Everybody else around you is going to do you, and push comes to shove. Most times, people are going to pick themselves over you, so you might as well pick yourselves over them. I mean, and I'm excluding friends and family that you're close to. Talk about your everyday person that likes to pass judgment on other people.
Fuck the haters.
Fuck the haters. Fuck the naysayers. Fuck the people that think they have the right to tell you what you should or should not be doing to earn a living for yourself or to do what makes you happy.
No.
And listen, if you're not a traditional person and you want to date someone traditional, go for it. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but you never know. There's someone out there for everyone. And I'm a guy with traditional values, and I would happily and unjudgmentally date a woman who is not traditional. I don't need someone to be traditional as long as I'm traditional.
Yeah, your values don't need to be compromised or changed.
Right. That's it. Our values don't need to align 100% for me to love somebody. And I think people forget, you love someone for the bad and the good in them, not just the good, for who they are as a person, not for who you want them to be as a person. And that's it. And if you can't see past that, then, you'll be a single fucking miserable woman hater for the rest of your life. When you're 70 years old, looking back on it, and you wish you had somebody there
Should
to
have dated that OnlyFans girl who spit in your
Should've,
mouth.
right? Now you're changing your own diapers at 80 years old, and
Instead, you hate your wife
right,
who cooks a medium rare ham every night.
right,
You could have had that tattooed goth girl
right.
squatting over you, and you fucked up.
Sitting on your face every morning.
Yeah. With the septum piercing,
right.
Meanwhile, you chose Margaret.
Right.
All right, my guy.
I hope you enjoyed her crocheting all these years. I'm sure you
How are
got,
those mittens, you little bitch boy?
how's that scarf? Did you hang yourself with it yet?
And all you can do when you get really turned on, you got to rub one out. You just think about that purple lipstick
Right.
that girl used to have.
Oh, I'm sure you'll be on OnlyFans.
Yeah. You have a separate bank account just for your OnlyFans
I
accounts.
can't, dude. That's the other thing that gets me. I swear, bro. I could go on for days with this. But anyway.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, I think it's a wrap. Thank you, everybody. As always, we appreciate it. Continue to give us feedback. We've been appreciating the feedback we've been getting up to this point. We'll keep you posted. We are going to start doing lives, hopefully over the next couple of months, and get you all the ability to call in while the podcast is going on. So in the meantime, just keep checking us out on our social media. Check us out on IG at Not For Nothing Podcast, TikTok at Not For Nothing Podcast, and you can check out our YouTube channel, which is also Not For Nothing Podcast, as well as Spotify, Apple, and Amazon to watch the episode. So
Bye, everyone.
that's it. It's a wrap.